Once there was an explosion. A bang which gave rise to life as we know it. And then came the next explosion. An explosion that will be our last.
As I get older, I find myself enjoying more deliberate experiences. Death Stranding is one such example. In most games, the act of going from point A to point B is to serve the greater purpose of getting you from event to event. Walking is just the mechanic to move you from gameplay element to gameplay element. For example, Pokemon populates the routes between gyms with wild monsters to catch, trainers to battle, items to collect. But the walking itself isn't the point. You walk to reach a new thing to do. For contrast, in a game like Mirror's Edge, the path is the game. The movement is the point. No one is playing Mirror's Edge for the stylized cutscenes or awkward story. You're playing to wall run and dick kick the man. I don't play Pokemon to walk between towns. I play to amass a team of strided, muscle-bound freaks and mineralized monsters to dominate the landscape. One plays Death Stranding to walk the path from point A to point B with intention. The path is the reason you're playing. I experienced a strange inverse bell curve of enjoyment during my playthrough of Death Stranding. You're initially limited to what your own 2 feet can do. It's not just a simple matter of getting to your destination, but dealing with the obstacles in your way. How will you scale the impending cliff face? How will you ford the river? Even a field filled with rocks must be given consideration, as your risk of tripping becomes apparent. The uneven ground itself is your antagonist. A ladder can be used to create a safe and scalable path upward, while an anchored rope can serve as a swift and ensured descent down a sheer cliff. Taking the time to survey a river and find a shallow crossing or opportune location for a horizontal ladder, providing you a reliable and dry path for future crossings. All the way down to something as simple as using your Odorect to scan for scary red X's and ensuring you only touch nice blue circles. This monotonous back and forth allows you to create efficient and reliable delivery routes. You will literally change the landscape with your actions. The pentultimate delivery routes manifesting in a tediously front-loaded network array of zip lines allowing unimpeded access to every inch of America. This feat of galaxy brain routing would be the bottom of my bell curve of enjoyment, the proverbial low point of my journey where my eagerness to complete deliveries began its waning. While undeniably faster, safer, and easier, the engagement was gone. I don't really find it satisfying pressing A a few times over a couple of minutes to complete my objective. What I did enjoy was planning the route from South Knot City to Timefall Farms, forging my way up mountains, crossing impassable rivers, and knocking out package pirates to build said array of zip lines. The zip lines themselves became my black hole of enjoyment. After that, the path from point A to point B became regular, thoughtless, simple. Completing the Chiral Highway rang a familiar hollow tone, a noble goal of engineering and logistical endeavors culminating in an easy-breezy experience for future package runs. While true, it's boring after you've made the drive a few times, that initial burst of sense of accomplishment from completing a new segment connecting 2 locations together, inadvertently choking off the future supply of positive brain chemicals. Once the method to accomplish your objective is trivialized, even completing the task isn't going to result in that desired dopamine hit. You didn't really earn it this time. You cashed out on this investment previously, didn't you, bud? Accomplishing your tasks will begin to feel vapid when you've removed the opus of decision-making from yourself. I am not alone in knowing this experience. Personally, I've set many goals, and after completing them, while feeling good, there's this sense of emptiness that follows. I play a game, write a script, do a voiceover, edit the footage, upload to YouTube, and suddenly I feel a familiar sense of depression. While a completed project is satisfying and I can watch back something I've created and feel proud, metaphorically, mentally touching myself, that's not really what was enjoyable. What was enjoyable was the process. What was engaging was the problem solving. Working through writer's block, sorting and locating the right footage for the right voice line, spending 10 hours editing 10 seconds of footage so that I know what I've made is of high fidelity. This problem can be transposed to Death Stranding. Driving on your nifty goo-based highway is relaxing for a time. Zipping to and fro, completing deliveries like they're nothing is cool and efficient, but you lose some of that magic when you've oversimplified the process. I'm no longer playing the game of interacting with the path. I essentially made it all about getting from point A to point B, forgetting about the path. But remember, Death Stranding is about the path, not the points. You care about the points because you want the stars the package recipients give you. You want the stars because the game shows I can get 5 stars, so I want all 5. I must clearly focus on earning all 5 in the most efficient manner possible, right? By building these modern logistical networks, you're inadvertently creating a Dyson sphere of accomplishment. Nothing escapes this structure other than the occasional serotonin molecule. I don't know, man. I just want the stars. I am not exaggerating. Once I made it easy to 5-star the preppers, I stopped playing the game. It was precisely after I'd set up the zip lines. I 5-starred the first region without any of the late game upgrades. I didn't leave the eastern segment of the game until I got that goddamn harmonica from the musician who chose to live behind a waterfall. There is an obvious incentive to build up reputation with the characters throughout the game. They give you resources, better gear than you can get normally, and flat-out upgrades that make the game more enjoyable. They'll also send you emails and provide you lore, if you're into that kind of thing. There's a specific series of orders that really made this click for me. The Pizza Boy, Pizza Man, Pizza Quest line. I'm definitely not delivering sweet pizza pie to a terrorist, right? This quest line provides a variance of challenges. Can't let the package go sideways or you'll get a sloppy za. Have to go fast or it'll get cold. Ultimately peaking with a special bottled drink request, and this bottle must be carried by hand. But remember, your pizza's getting cold. You're unable to drive vehicles and you can't use a zip line. You have to run halfway across America to deliver this pizza in a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. While not efficient, it's fun. I'm a bit of a completionist to my YouTube algorithm's dismay, so I spent a fair bit of time 5-starring the different cities and preppers in Death Stranding, and the fun returned when I was playing the hiking game, not pressing A to listen to Norman Reedus say, "Yeah!" But I also don't want to make the game too hard. I don't want to walk barefoot with 0 upgrades just because technically that's the most deliberate way to do it. What I do want to do is intelligently manage my inventory and take advantage of all of the equipment provided to me. Let's take Wind Farm, for example. There are a few things going on here. Big hill, complicated terrain, BTs. I don't want to have to constantly deal with sneaking around BTs, so I'll spend some time hurtling my blood and piss at them until they're all gone and the sun is shining to make my life easier. Setting up a zip line goes too far, adding too much weight to my proverbial mental spaceship, preventing me from escaping the happiness black hole event horizon. I've removed too much of the engagement. I'm no longer playing the game. What isn't too simple is skillfully driving a motorized vehicle down the hill, deftly weaving between rocks and trees. While I can carry more cargo and move it faster, I'm still interacting with the path. It doesn't water down the experience to the extent that the zipline does. It ultimately comes down to how I'm interfacing with the ground. The motorized vehicle in the context of the road when driving from Lake Knot City to the distribution center is not the correct type of interfacing. The point that I'm trying to make here is that it's not a simple problem of pulling one lever and the issue going away. There's no catch-all, no magic pill. I hesitate to say that even these time saves are the problem, as they too can serve as an engaging element of the path, in moderation. Most days I wish I could have 24 beers, but if I had 24 beers, I wouldn't feel good, nor would I remember the last 12 beers. 6 beers, on the other hand, allows me to enjoy the beers, but spend some time with my wife, watch a movie, play some games, go for a walk, and cook some burgers. It's all part of the process, but it's not the whole process. The primary deliveries before the story takes over to conclude the game's plot is in the far west, up in the mountains behind Timefall Farms and beyond the heights of Mountain Knot City. If you take some time to survey the area, you can see profound levels of elevation change, deep snow, constant precipitation, unstable ground, ravines, cliffs, BTs, you name it. Due to a fearful and reasonable sense that Kojima was gonna joink me into an 8-hour movie to polish out the game mid-gamer session, I elected to rush the story deliveries to resolve the plot and come back when I had time to 5-star the remaining preppers. I spent a profound amount of my limited life force setting up an efficient and reasonable network of zip lines connecting the paleontologist, exobiologist, and geologist for easy access from Mountain Knot City. What I did not notice was that I was surgically removing what I was enjoying from the game in the first place. After making 1 round of deliveries using the zipline network, I did not play the game for like 2 months. Just didn't want to play anymore after 60 hours of not wanting to stop. Wait just a second. Hear me out. I know what you're thinking. Well, Ruby, that seems like a reasonable amount of time before you burn out. What made me want to come back was the thought of deliberately making choices to make the remaining deliveries on foot. And then another 40 hours of my life was gone. Again, I'm not entirely masochistic. I'm obviously going to use the all-terrain exoskeleton to allow a reasonable walking pace and chiral carts to shoulder part of my literal burden. The core, the meat, the butter, so to speak, is the path, engaging with the landscape. I like playing Death Stranding. I like Death Stranding. I don't like pretending to play Death Stranding while I'm playing Death Stranding. Am I making sense? There are two ends to the spectrum here, and finding balance is key. If you only focus on getting from point A to point B as fast as you can, you skip over a ton of engaging and entertaining things to do in Death Stranding. I could not believe I ever slept on the Buddy Bot. Did you know about the Buddy Bot? Because I sure as shit didn't. We get introduced to the Buddy Bot as an option to automate deliveries. You can elect to send these long-legged boys out on a journey with varying levels of success. Success levels you can impact by providing ample infrastructure and removing human elements out of their path. We're gonna touch on the combat in a bit. Don't worry. First of all, it's my name on the delivery, so no one is touching that cargo unless I have a 100% chance of success. Pretty much never use them after the initial mission. I did not realize I could have one come with me. I could have a floating cart upgraded with gams and emotional chimes? Sign me the fuck up! They are a simple joy to have around. I wish half of my coworkers were this competent. You can even have them carry you. Are you kidding me? How sick is that? I will acknowledge the irony of enjoying something that is as close as you can get to a slap across the face in terms of touching the path, but not engaging with the path. Roughly 150 hours in this game, and I have only experienced these quadriceps demigods for the latter 20 hours. Absolutely tragic. Okay. What else do we have here? The sticky gun. Why would you use this? Because bending over is bad for your back, and it feels good to use. Oh, looks like there's a bad guy approaching me. Not anymore! You're telling me I don't have to trudge through this river, overestimate my stamina capacity, fall, traumatize my daughter, and lose an old man's heart pills? Sign me up! I feel like while writing the script, the whole point of the game is finally clicking, and that point is important. If you take the time to deliver gooning materials to the local weirdo, he will provide you with the means to protect what is most important to you. High-capacity automatic rifles and Pokemon cards. A simple cover for your backpack can be missed if you don't lower yourself into a crevasse and befriend the eccentric autistic man who enjoys antiquated media forms. I'm being needlessly pedantic here. The obvious point is to be deliberate about your exploration and engagement with the path, noticing the landscape and all of its secrets. I like the combat in Death Stranding. I said it. I like it. It's good. During a playthrough back in 2020 when the game was initially released, I dreaded the combat. It felt like this frustrating blockade preventing me from doing what I actually wanted to do, which was walking. And admittedly, that's what it is. You either have to totally engage or go on a large detour. The experiences do not want to be homogenized. And honestly, it doesn't even make sense to try to get into a fight with the mules or terrorists if you're mid-cargo order. The risk of your shit being stolen and then you having to waste time to go get it back, or the potential for causing a massive void out, losing your cargo is just too great of a risk and not worth the time. Newsflash, dum-dum. If you don't engage with the combat, it's not engaging. But if you deliberately engage with the combat with the intention of combat, it is a blast. Shooting, smacking, blowing up your enemies is always an option. You can full frontal knee a man in the orbital bone and it only knocks him out. With minor skill, you can quickly pick up a container of boots, yeet it at a man 30 yards away, and help him achieve a comatose state. The combat shares the exact same issue as the delivery system. If I trivialize or disengage with the mechanics, it becomes uninteresting and unengaging. If, however, I take full advantage of the game's tools, it's fun! There's a plethora of ways to eliminate the human threats that plague the greater American plains. You can take the stealth approach, using your silenced rifle from the shadows, luring unsuspecting package fiends to the tall grass to eliminate with your strand in an undetected manner. Perhaps a more announced threat as you plow through the enemy's ranks in a 10-ton steel vehicle, being careful to only knock them out and not cause permanent damage. Or you could create an elaborate trap, leading the mules to the perceived cheese, only to reveal it's a master plan of surrounding them by slippery goo, condemning them to a fate of eternal tripping. You can kind of mess around with the mules a bit more than you can with the terrorists. The mules are really just mentally warped by their overconsumption of TikTok, leading them to want to steal your likes. The terrorists, however, are not messing around. They're here to cause problems. They will kill you. There is a level of mastery that can be achieved with the combat system. It's not like a first-person shooter where the objective is to simply eliminate your enemies. I mean, it can be, but you could also choose to create a psychotically planned-out Rube Goldberg machine of incapacitating your enemies via IEDs filled with sleeping gas or turning Sam into a literal human predator missile luchador. If you choose to be deliberate, you can find an immense amount of replayability and joy in these systems. Keep in mind, you could also just kill them. Just make sure that you responsibly destroy their bodies via cremation, or, you'll have a void out happen. You can, to an extent, just brute force your way through these encounters, but I don't really know why you would, unless, of course, you really don't want to engage with this part of the game, which, okay, I get, but, you're definitely missing out. Death Stranding is as deliberate as you make it. You can scratch the surface by simply focusing on getting from point A to point B, or engage with the mechanics as they're designed and find a whole new level of enjoyment from the tools and options easily overlooked when focusing on the endpoints. From slowly trudging across mountain peaks with a convoy of cargo to running across open fields with a case of beer on your back. There's absolutely nothing wrong with maxing out a truck full of medication and antique Nintendo Power magazines. Just be sure you're making the choice, not forcing the option because it's the most efficient way possible. It can be as complicated as you want it to be, or as laid back as one can imagine. Both sides serve their purpose, but I suggest you intentionally engage with either end, otherwise you'll find yourself in a shallow experience.
It's your big titty bitch here, PPP. I love you.